Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Talking EFL. And tonight we have the pleasure to bring our second episode of From Book to Classroom. And we have here Caio. Caio has been, hi. Caio has been a teacher for young and very young learners for almost 5 years now. He holds the CELTA and the certificate in teaching English to young learners by Anaheim University. And recently, Caio has delivered a talk in regard to this matter at Cultura Inglesa Teachers Colloquium 2019. And on the other side, we have nobody less than Lucy Crichton.
Hello.
Hey. She's graduated in drama, design, and teaching English as a foreign language. Lucy is a teacher trainer, and storyteller who has given lectures and workshops around the world. She has been writing for the primary classroom since 2008 and has been involved in projects in Brazil, Argentina, the UK, the USA, and most recently China and Vietnam.
Yeah.
Lucy is the founder of the Secret Garden English School, yes, in Florianopolis, where she teaches children and teenagers using music, art, drama, gardening, and cooking. She has been living and teaching in Brazil since 1992. Lucy, Caio, welcome to Talking EFL.
Oh, thank you for the invitation. Very happy to be here with Caio.
And
okay, so may I start?
Yes.
Okay, so when I started teaching young and very young learners, I was not aware of their cognitive needs. And so Lucy, the first question it's either a personal question and a question that I have been hearing from my fellow teachers. How important do you think it is for young learners, teachers, to be aware of their cognitive needs and their development?
Yeah, of course, without a doubt, it's essential. It's essential. It's part of knowing what you're doing as a teacher of young learners is to know the whole developmental process, as deep as you can. And I think that we talk about the cognitive knowledge a lot, but don't forget there's the physical and there's the spiritual. There's the emotional life of the child that is as important as the cognitive learning side. So the deeper that we know childhood development in all its many facets, the better the teacher we're going to be, obviously. So we're going to understand, for example, the necessity that a 3-year-old or 4-year-old has to be able to use their bodies to learn. So yeah, I think it's really, really important for any teacher of young learners to delve as deep as you can, and not just in EFL, but in different pedagogies as well, so that we really get a sort of global picture of the young learner. Yeah.
Because we're not only teaching the content, right? We are teaching more than that.
Exactly. I love the questions that you have, by the way. They're really perfect.
As a teacher trainer, Lucy, have you been seeing courses and sessions that have been catering for this need to teach young learners? Do you think that as a teacher trainer, we are well served of papers and research on this area, or do you think we should still work on it?
I think we're getting better. I think there are some new sort of younger generation of like Caio of teachers like really involved in young learner education. So we're definitely getting better, but obviously I think yes, we do need to delve deeper. So like you said, Caio, yeah, definitely write more about it. Let's share feedback. No, let's share books that we're reading, papers that we're finding interesting, research papers, etc., in this area, because yeah, there's still much more to be done. And I think that generally in the whole educational system, we're just still concentrating on the brain learning, and we're forgetting about all the rest of the human being still a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Caio, to you.
Okay, moving to storytelling. why are stories crucial when we are teaching young learners?
They are so crucial. I can't, talk about this enough, because everything that we do in our life involves a story. We're moved by stories the whole time. You go to the corner shop, you have a little chat with somebody, it's a story. You watch a film, it's about a story. A video. Songs have stories. Stories are in our daily lives all the time.
It's
And
tangible for them, right?
yes, completely. It's what moves them. It's what makes sense. They're all the time creating little stories when they're playing. So it's just natural that we would want to, teach a language through stories, because it's essential. It's what they do in their day-to-day, what they do in their day-to-day as children. It unlocks hundreds of things, doesn't it? You know, inner imagination, curiosity. It has the beautiful connection to language, culture. There's nothing wrong in storytelling for me. It's essential. I'm in love with it.
What's your favorite story?
Well, people often ask me this, and let me see if I've got it here just quickly in my little book. I've got this story called Schubertina's Birthday, and it was a story that I got when I was about 7 years old from my grandparents. And actually, it's a story with no words. It just has
Wow.
images. And what I found so powerful about that story as a child is that I could make the story mine. Yeah, so I could create a story. It was different every time it was told.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's my favorite story. Yeah, it's not
Oh,
a very,
that's so
very good one.
nice.
Yes.
Caio?
And still about storytelling, have you got any tips for teachers who would like to work more with stories?
Yes, lots of tips, I think. The very first one would be is to start as simply as possible. Don't worry about it being this amazing storytelling performance. Start with, for example, a book that you really love, because when we're connected to the story we're going to tell, it's going to be 100% better if we like what we're telling. The other thing is there are some tiny little tips. For example, make sure the story you're going to tell is going to be appropriate for the learners. Yes, does it connect to their lives? Is it age appropriate? How are you going to introduce it? Where are your students going to sit? What language are you going to use specifically to help them understand the story? What props are you going to use? So if you like a story and you think it's good for your group, practice it at home. Yeah, and just start very simply. Even if you start by reading the story from the book, that's the first step. Read the story from the book one week. The next week, try and memorize part of the story, and then maybe story tell it, or add some elements to it. Um, but
What
I
about
think
getting learners to act out the story?
yes, exactly. But they need to have exposure to the story, in a couple of times. So,
Hmm.
for example, children, when they watch a film, they want to watch it over and over again, right? Because they
Yeah.
want to get to the emotional part of the story, the part they connected to, the part that was exciting. So you can tell your story over a period of a month to your students. Yeah. You can tell it differently each time, then you can add things in, they can act it out, they can make puppets for it, they could, you know, make masks, or they can have things that they can interact with the story. So it never should be just a one-off thing. Something you can delve deeper into, give it more time. Start simple and go with the students.
Wow. Nice.
Yes, I have nothing here. I'm just observing it. That's awesome. That's great.
There are
Yes, it
hundreds of
is.
things to learn
Learning
really
from the bit.
about
Yes.
storytelling. And I know that some teachers say, oh, well, I've never done drama, I can't do it. And I say, well, you're telling your students things every time you go into the classroom. You're telling them things. Storytelling is just an extension of that. So you just find, your truth in your story, and your students will connect to you through that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay. Shall we move to the next question?
Of course.
Please.
Sure.
Now I'd like to talk about the teaching environment, because how do you think that the teaching environment impact learning?
I love this question, and I talk about it a lot because I think it really does affect the learning, a great deal. Um, we have our reality here in Brazil. Yeah, I'm here in Brazil. I've worked in Brazil my whole teaching life, and I know all the different realities of classrooms. So sometimes we have classrooms that are very sterile, that they're very, it's concrete. There's no greenery. There's not a lot of light. There's no natural light that comes into the room, or the windows don't open, or the walls, the paint's falling off. What can we do in a classroom like that? When we have very few resources, what we can do is we can bring the light in ourselves, and we can bring in a piece of coloured cloth that we put over our teacher's table. We can bring in a little plant. We can think about how to personalise the space so that it says something about the students who learn in it. Even if we only have that classroom for an hour a week, I would come into it, I would put my cloth, my plant, I would put something on the walls that says something about the students. Even if I had to take it off an hour later, I would try and make that space a cozy, interesting space for the next 45, 50 minutes by doing just a tiny little thing like that. And I think it makes a big difference. When the teacher makes an effort, the students will make an effort. Yeah.
Yeah.
An ideal classroom is one that has natural light, that perhaps has nature, even, a plant or something green in it. It's a classroom that reflects a little tiny bit a home in some way, with curtains, or with, a little cushion on the seat, or something that makes it, look interesting, and not
Yeah.
necessarily practical, white, and easy to clean. Humanizado, né?
Yes.
Some way.
Yeah, the school where I teach these young and very young learners is a
Mm,
partner of Cultura Inglesa São Paulo. And so the classrooms are very, very small. And I get my
yes.
learners out to the hall. And when I'm working with colors, for instance, and when we're playing Simon Says, I get them to the playground where they can see the colors and they can touch them and move towards the correct color. Or
Yes.
when I was teaching numbers, we played hopscotch, and I was working with numbers and motor skills. So they were I was trying to make the most of the school environment to improve the learning experience. But
Perfect. Yeah, and I mean, I think it's possible for quite a lot of teachers to be able to do that, although some are restricted to the classroom environment. But if you can go out, do it. I do it all the
yeah,
time with the students. I did it on Tuesday this week. I took them out. It was a beautiful afternoon. We live close to the beach, so I took them for a walk, and we worked on the beach. You know, there's so much more to learn outside the four walls of the classroom. So totally agree with you, Caio. Yes, wonderful.
great. Anything,
That's
Fabi, to
awesome.
add?
No, no. I mean, at this point, I'm just observing. Go for
Okay, so
it.
now I'd like to talk a little bit about technology. So, how much do you think we should rely on technology when teaching children?
This is a really good question also, because technology is around us. It's like it's at this sort of velocity that's so quick, and students have, a lot of technology in their homes. They have technology perhaps in their regular schools. But then I have this big question about technology. Okay, let's take an example. I think examples are always really good. So, storytelling, for example. I've seen a lot of schools now, with the very short space of time they have to teach their students. The material they use has a lot of technology. So they have stories which are videos. So they tell the story through a video. So the students sit down, watch TV if you like, and the teacher tells the story through a video. And I think that's very limiting, really. What we find as, is easy and practical and quick as teachers is not always helpful for a student's deeper learning. So, for example, if you take a book and read a story, it's completely different. The interaction that you have with the story, um, the patience that you have to learn to be able to wait for the teacher to tell you she's turning the page. Everything is 3D. So the learning, even in a sort of brain sense, is so much more when it's live. So when we use too much technology, we're missing out, I think, especially for very young learners, on a deeper learning process, which is a life learning, not just, screen learning. So I think you have to find a balance, and you have to, I mean, we know as teachers, when you put in effort and hard work to your class, the results are completely different than if you do something that's, very easy and practical and quick. Yeah. So if you want to make a difference in your classroom, okay, technology, but go the extra mile. Yeah. Bring something else into the classroom apart from, screens and pressing buttons.
And we have this wrong perception that technology is something that it's the only choice to make them feel calm and at ease.
And engaged,
When,
right?
yes, exactly. When sometimes it's the other way around. I've had the chance to observe a lesson of a dear friend of mine, by the way, a new partner at Talking EFL. And previously to my entering, he worked with the characters of the Gingerbread Man. With he helped the students construct it with Play-Doh. So when he was telling the story, he used the characters that the students had constructed with Play-Doh, and they were so hypnotized with the story at that moment. There was nothing else. It was the teacher and the students, and it was a unique moment I had the honor to observe.
That's a
That's
really
because their
good
production
point.
was available. The
Exactly.
teacher
Exactly.
took
They're
their production to
yes,
teach them.
they're
It
Hmm.
makes
actively
it more
involved in
relevant.
it. Actively
Yeah.
involved. And another thing you said, Fabi, I think that's really important, that teachers, um, they think they can't sometimes. And I think this point of having teaching EFL is to say you can believe in yourself, you can do it. You just have to put in a little bit of extra work. And don't
Yeah.
think that technology is, the answer and is the, the perfect formula. We have to get the students to think and to, to create their reality, not just to accept something that comes on a screen ready-made. So,
Yes.
really good point.
Yes. Over to you, Caio.
And now let's talk a little bit about life skills. So, what are the best activities to deal with life skills in the classroom?
Well, I I don't know what the best ones are, but I can tell you the ones that we do in our school that are very effective. So we have this thing which is the equipe de limpeza, it's like the cleaning groups. So our students study with us the whole afternoon. So they have a snack break in the middle of the afternoon. So some of them can cut fruits, and then the other people, when the snack is finished, they have to um, sweep the floor, wash the dishes, dry the dishes, put the dishes away. They take it in turns. And it's not these sort of daily routine life skills are essential for all of us, girls and boys, girl teenagers, boy teenagers, they're good for everybody, because you're going to need those skills later on. So you can imagine putting two 7-year-olds to fold a tablecloth. And we always say to them, look, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well. So you're going to fold the tablecloth. You're not going to do qualquer jeito. You're going to do it carefully and beautifully. You're going to work together in pairs to fold the corners and go together. And so um, it's not even just the physical activity, it's how you communicate to do it. Who's drying the dishes? Who's putting them away? Are you putting them away carefully? Are you pushing each other to get to the sink, or are you helpful to each other? You know? So I think some of the best life skills are our daily tasks as human beings, looking after ourselves, cleaning after ourselves, um, excuse me, thank you. Do you know what I mean? All those really simple
Absolutely.
daily things. And we're so lucky to be English teachers, because we can teach anything through English.
Yeah. That's
Yes.
really good. That's really beautiful.
And for teenagers, just another little thing that we did that was really effective with our teenage students is we taught them how to iron a shirt. So we had a whole worksheet on how you iron a shirt. So they had to bring a shirt from home. We talked about the settings on the iron and how you have to be careful so you don't burn yourself. And we had a whole lesson about that. And then the other lesson we had was also about how to clean a toilet. And actually, it was the lesson that they loved the most, because they had like special gloves, different cloths, they had cleaning products. They got so enthusiastic about learning how to clean a toilet that they made a
Nice.
song about it, about Lemony
Wow.
Ajax. So, you know,
Priceless, just
yeah,
unbelievable.
about how to, how to look after your life, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
learning by doing, right?
Learning by doing and having fun with it, of
Yeah.
course. More memorable, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Caio, Lucy, I can't thank you enough for this amazing chat. Caio, Lucy, have you got any final words for?
Gosh, I've been doing all the talking. I would love to know more about what Caio does in his classroom. I mean, but
Ah,
Yeah,
yeah,
so we may talk about it. I mean, if
let's
you
flip the
want.
table.
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah,
Now, come on, tell us a bit about what you have.
yes. Tell me about the life skills, or I don't know, about your storytelling, or tell me something. I'm curious.
Okay, so as I told you, I'm really into teaching young and very young learners. When I started, it wasn't that easy. So because I had never taught young learners before, so I had to study how they learn. I had to spend more time preparing the lesson, and thinking of all the details, everything that I would do. And as we were talking before, they were not used to have a male presence in the classroom,
Hmm.
so I struggled a bit with their attitude and behavior at the beginning. But then it was so rewarding after a couple of months and a couple of years teaching them, and I learn every day from my learners. I used to be an engineer before. I mean, I
Hmm.
think I have never been an engineer. I was playing the role of an engineer, but I gave up on the engineering career to teach.
Excellent.
I was a Cultura Inglesa student, and I wanted to join Cultura to be a teacher, and but going to what I have been doing with my students, I've been working hard with routine. So I try to set a clear routine, because the more they are aware of what's going to happen in the classroom, the easier to manage they
Yes,
become. So
good
this is
point.
something that I have been working on to better deliver my lessons.
Mm.
And storytelling, I often use puppets. I try to be as funny as possible. They are really into listening to stories, and I try to make the most of these stories, not only to work with vocabulary, but also with um, life skills, as we were talking about life skills,
Hmm.
and what can you learn from the story. So there's
Lovely.
also something more than the content, than the vocabulary, than the English itself.
Mm.
So I try to link the story with their own lives, and I've been getting even more passionate about teaching young learners and
Oh,
very young learners now.
that's fantastic. I was saying to Kaya before you started recording how important it is for us to have more male teachers in this area in Brazil. It's still very, very female.
If
And
I'm not mistaken, there are, I mean, 97% of female teachers in primary schools in Brazil.
really, there you go. Yeah. So here's
Yeah,
to more guy teachers, right?
It
yeah,
helps in the personality building, because the child needs to understand that the man can also be, can also be kind, if you
A
know what I mean.
caregiver. Exactly. Yeah, definitely. It's very important.
Yes, I have to say that, of course, besides the fact that Rodrigo knows Caio because they worked together for a semester, I've got to know Caio's work because I started teaching very young learners only 1.5 years ago. So I'm not as experienced as Caio is. And by the time when I started teaching, the people in the academic department told me, you should talk to Caio. He is the person to be talking to. So he is a reference for us,
Come
sir.
on.
That's
You are. You
excellent.
are.
That's excellent. Parabéns. É isso que a gente precisa. We need more people like that, people who are in the classroom, who can share their practice, who have this passion for this age group. And like he said, I had to work hard to do my lesson planning, it's not an easy thing. And so we need to put teachers with more experience and with the know-how to teach younger children, because they are like that's the key phase for later on, so the quality in that education, we're improving, I think, and it's a very good thing.
Yeah, and I feel the same because I often hear from teachers that they are afraid of teaching very young learners and young learners, but it was an intrinsic. Come on, Fabi. It was my motivation to do that was something intrinsic. I don't know how I was just there when I realized that I was in the classroom and teaching them, and I had to survive. But then things, I mean, they are wonderful. They are
Yeah.
very eager to learn, and they respond to our inputs genuinely.
Yeah, there's no price, is there? It's definitely worth the investment. It might be difficult at the beginning, but it's worth
Oh
it.
yeah.
Keep on going, because it's just, we're real mentors for them, and we can make a difference, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, guys.
Mm.
I loved it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, thank you too.
Uh, Thank you,
Well,
guys.
and for all the watchers at Talking EFL, just hold on because we have a wonderful second semester coming for us. So I'll see you soon, guys.
Thanks for the
Great.
invitation, Lucy. It was a
Yes.
pleasure to meet you and to talk to you.
Ditto to you both as well. Thanks again. Really, really nice.
Thanks.
Well, bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye
Thanks,
bye.
everyone.
Bye
Take
bye.
care. Have a nice.
Hello, everyone. It's me again, Fabi from Talking EFL. And you have just watched this amazing episode of From Book to Classroom with the great Lucy Crichton and Caio Batista. If you would like more information about this great project of ours, you can go to our blog, talkingefl.com, and there you will find texts from our collaborators, our partners, as well as another project called On the Map. For more videos, more interviews, and more amazing stuff, go to our YouTube channel that's called Talking EFL. I hope to see you there. See you next time. Bye-bye.